Do you think that when so few people have so much wealth and so much economic and political power, that that is an oligarchic form of society?
Well, I would note that President Biden gave the Presidential Medal of Freedom to two people who I think would qualify for his oligarchs.
Bernie Sanders thought he had Scott Bessent cornered with one word: oligarchy. But what happened next completely flipped the hearing, leaving Bernie scrambling as Bessent used Joe Biden's own actions against him. Bernie came loaded with statistics about billionaires, wealth inequality, and political power, expecting Bessent to either agree with Biden or walk into a political trap. Instead, Bessent calmly pointed out that two of the very people Biden now criticizes had received the Presidential Medal of Freedom from Biden himself. The exchange quickly shifted from Bernie's attack on billionaires to questions about hypocrisy, economic mobility, minimum wage, and Trump's economic agenda. Watch how Bessent refuses to take the bait and turns the entire conversation around.
Mr. Bessent, thanks very much for being in the office the other day. Mr. Bessent, the United States today has more income and wealth inequality than has ever existed in the history of our country. You got three people on top, Mr. Musk, Mr. Bezos, and Mr. Zuckerberg, who are now worth almost $1 trillion. That is more than half of the bottom of our society. Some 170 million people. Three people, more wealth than the bottom, 170 million. We have more concentration of ownership today than we have ever had. We have more concentration of ownership in the media, where a handful of billionaires like Musk, Bezos, Rupert Murdoch increasingly own the media and the information that the American people receive. We have a corrupt campaign finance system in which a small number of billionaires in both political parties make huge contributions into the presidential and congressional campaigns. When you have a small number of multi-billionaires who have enormous economic, media, and political power, would you agree with President Biden, who last night stated, and I quote, "An oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights, and freedoms." End of quote. That's what President Biden said last night. I agree with him. Do you?
Senator Sanders, I enjoyed our visit.
Talk a little bit closer into the mic.
I enjoyed our visit, and I hope you got my follow-up materials on the discussions, my previous writings on the tariffs and China. And look, the three billionaires who you listed, that all made the money themselves. Mr. Musk came to the country as an immigrant.
I understand that, but what I'm asking you is, when you have a handful of people like Musk, who will soon be part of the Trump administration, and others, when you have three people owning more wealth than the bottom half of American society, when these people have enormous influence over the media, when they spend huge amounts of money in both political parties to elect candidates, what Biden said last night is we're moving toward an oligarchy. I'm asking you that question. Do you think, forget how they made their money, do you think that when so few people have so much wealth and so much economic and political power, that that is an oligarchic form of society?
Well, I would note that President Biden gave the Presidential Medal of Freedom to two people who I think would qualify for his oligarchs. So
this is not a condemnation of any one individual. I'm just asking you, would so few people have so much wealth and power?
But
do you think that that is an oligarchic form of society?
Senator, I think it depends on the ability to move up and down the income.
No, that's not really the answer. I mean, even if you had that mobility, no matter who those individuals might be. All right, but let me ask you another question. Right now in America, we have over 22 million workers who are making less than $15 an hour, and nearly 40 million people in our country earning less than $17 an hour. Shamefully, the federal minimum wage, despite the efforts of myself and other people here, have not been raised since 2009 and remains an unbelievable $7.25 an hour. Will you work with those of us who want to raise the federal minimum wage to a living wage to take millions of Americans out of poverty?
Senator, I believe that the minimum wage is more of a statewide and regional issue.
So you don't think we should change the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Bessent, millions of working class Americans who are struggling to keep their heads above water are paying outrageously high interest rates on their credit cards. Over half the American people who take out new credit cards are being charged interest rates of over 24%. 24%. During his campaign, President-elect Trump promised that he was going to cap credit card interest rates at 10%. I happen to think that that is a very good idea, and I will soon be introducing legislation to do just that. Will you, as if you are confirmed, be supportive of what President-elect Trump said and what I want to see happen, and that is to cap credit card interest rates at 10%?
Senator, I think we can both agree that many credit card companies have been bad actors throughout history, and I will get back to you once.
Now, very simple question. Trump said he wants to cap credit card interest rates at 10%. I agree with him. Will you be supportive of what Trump and I would like to do?
When President Trump takes office, and if I am confirmed, I will follow what President Trump wants to do.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Senator Bernie Sanders walked into this hearing convinced he had Scott Bessent trapped. His argument was simple. 3 billionaires, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg, control enormous wealth, media influence, and political power. Bernie even quoted President Biden, saying America is becoming an oligarchy. Then came Bessent's response. Instead of arguing over the definition, he reminded everyone that President Biden himself awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom to 2 people Bernie would likely describe as oligarchs. That instantly shifted the conversation. Bernie brushed the point aside and kept pressing, insisting America was controlled by a handful of wealthy elites. But Bessent argued that what matters is whether people still have the opportunity to move up economically, not simply how much wealth someone has accumulated. Bernie wasn't satisfied and quickly pivoted. He demanded to know whether Bessent would support raising the federal minimum wage above $7.25 an hour. Bessent didn't bite. He argued that wages should largely be decided at the state and regional level because the cost of living varies dramatically across the country. Not willing to stop there, Bernie switched topics again. This time he brought up high credit card interest rates, pointing out that President-elect Trump had proposed capping rates at 10%. Would Bessent support it? Rather than freelancing, Bessent simply answered that if confirmed, he would carry out President Trump's policies. Throughout the hearing, Bernie pushed for sweeping federal solutions. Bessent repeatedly answered with arguments centered on economic opportunity, regional flexibility, and loyalty to the incoming administration's agenda. Whether you agree with Bernie Sanders or Scott Bessent, one thing was clear. Neither side gave an inch. Now it's your turn. Do you think America is moving toward an oligarchy, or do you believe economic success and wealth alone don't make a country one? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more political breakdowns.